Well, good morning again to everybody out there. Micah Thomas with Peachtree Farm and Greenhouse here, back in the shop, getting back after it this weekend on Jake the Snake teardown. Went ahead this morning and took off a lot of the electrical components as far as spark plug wires and things like that. Removed a lot of vacuum lines and found a lot of random electrical wires that really didn't go to anything or were hooked to anything. And I'm guessing because this is an old rescue squad truck that it probably had lights and a siren. It also ran multiple batteries on it. So could have been some stuff to do with that. So we've got a pile going over there on the floor of stuff that we've already taken off this morning. We're going to get started taking off and removing power steering lines, some brake lines, things that we need to get rid of before we can actually unbolt everything and get it up off of the frame. So that being said, I want to take you around real quick and just tell you a little bit about some things that we figured out about the truck, good, bad, and ugly, and some things that we've got to look forward to coming up. All right, we'll start up here on the motor. We're going to take this out. I've got a engine stand over here. We're going to take everything out of the frame, hopefully this weekend, and get the transmission taken apart from the motor so that we can begin rebuilding on that. Not real sure if I want to rebuild the carburetor or if I just want to put a new carburetor on. We're probably going to go with an aluminum intake, aluminum heads, new valve covers, paint the block if it's good. Might try to put some headers on it and just a little bigger cam than what's currently in it, just to give it a few more HPs. Oh yeah. Moving on down to the transmission. Was hoping for the Turbo 400. Really hadn't got under the truck to look or not, but if you notice, this is a square pan under the transmission except for this corner, and it's flat underneath there. It's not a step up and down. This is what they call the square-ish flat pan. That being said, this is a Turbo 350, not the Turbo 400. So on the transmission, we're going to disconnect it obviously from the motor, and reverse, I'm told, is out of this. So it's going to have to be rebuilt. Thankfully, we've got a really good transmission shop here locally at Harper's, right at the end of our road, actually. So real close to home. They said they could rebuild all that for us, and it'd be a really good transmission for this truck. We're not really going to be doing a whole lot of hauling and pulling and doing some super labor intensive stuff. So this transmission will work just fine for us. And then the transfer case, everything seems to work or shift on it. So that being said, hopefully the transfer case is good, but we'll disconnect that from the front drive shaft, the rear drive shaft, and probably take it off of the transmission, because I'm going to take that to Harper's as well and let them look through it and make sure that it's good to go. But all that being said, nothing can happen until we get it out of this frame, and then we can start the rebuild process on the motor and sanding on the frame. Here we go. Hello in there. Hello. Well, that don't look good. Looks like he had a long night last night. didn't make a whole lot of sense for me to be fighting around the fan. And it's gonna have to go anyway. So I'm gonna take a little time, get the fan removed so I can get to everything else a little easier. Work smarter, not harder, ding dong. I think that's an old door hinge repurposed to be a spacer. Made a mess. Went inside to get something to eat. Was getting tired. Blood sugar was getting low. That's what we say in the South. My sugar was getting low. So took a little break. Got me a bite to eat inside. Good burger made by my wife. Come back outside, drastic weather change had happened. I think it dropped 20 degrees. So we got the shop closed back down. Had to turn the heat on, put an extra layer on, except for her. Anyway, got pretty much everything stripped off the front of the motor that we need to before lunch. Come back out. Went ahead and started removing the gas tank off of it. Got a few more bolts to take out. We're going to do that just to give us a little more room to get into all this stuff that we're going to hopefully at least get unbolted today. And then we will, if we don't remove it today, we will remove it tomorrow after church. So let's get back to work. Okay, got back to it. Got the drive shaft, the rear drive shaft coming from the transfer case back to the rear end. Pulled out. Lighting's not good, and it's just really not cool work to watch, but I'll show you real quick what I did. So right there on the floor, this clip here and this clip here screw into this yoke back here. Those are retainers. Pulled those out, let the drive shaft slide forward into the transfer case, and then out of that yoke, which let it drop down, and then I could pull it out of the transfer case, and we got it laying back there. Now I know what you're thinking. You didn't mark it, but yes, I did. I didn't draw on it. I actually took a chisel and marked it because my plan is to paint all this. So if I just marked on it, I would lose that mark. So I did that on the rear yoke and on the drive shaft. So I'll be able to know which way to put it back together. Now we got to take the front one out. Once the front one is out, I'll show you what we did there. But essentially we've got retainers back there. We're going to take off We got 4 bolts on the transfer case out there that we're going to take off, and the front one should be free. Got the boss man out here helping me get the motor mount bolts out. We got this side done down in there. He's holding the wrench on that side. I'm on the bottom side. All right, everybody, that's a wrap for today, but we've still got tomorrow afternoon after church. Today we did get both drive shafts pulled, and we also got the fuel tank removed. And last but not least, I think we've got everything unbolted except for the transmission cooler lines that are also bolted to the motor. But tomorrow after church, I'm pretty sure all I got to do is come in here, hook to this thing. I'm going to use the tractor, pick it up. We're going to set it over there on that side of the shop, remove the transmission from the motor, then put it on a pallet and load it on my truck. And then we're also going to put together our engine stand and hopefully get the engine mounted to it so that next week of the evening we can work on dismantling the motor and see what we're working with there. So I'll see you tomorrow afternoon. All right, everybody, it is Sunday afternoon. I spent the last little bit putting together my Hobo Freight brand engine stand because pretty sure we're at the point where we can pull this thing out. Everything should be unbolted, and then disconnect the transmission and transfer case from the motor. Hope to mount the motor to the engine stand this afternoon as well, but I may not have the bolts that I need, so I may have to run to town and do that, and do that later this week or tonight one. So let's get going. Okay, so I've got a strap around the transfer case and transmission, strap around the front part of the motor, got it all nice and tight. Corbin's gonna crank the tractor now, and we're gonna slowly raise it up. You watch me, okay? Where was it coming out of? Okay, that was interesting and fun. So it worked pretty good. We got everything out. Everything was undone. We got the cooler line still under the motor coming from the transmission that we got to take loose. But for right now, we are going to unbolt the transmission from the motor and strap it to that pallet so we can take it uptown to Harper's. And then hopefully we'll bolt the motor onto the engine stand. We got it apart. Something was living in it. Oh, show. Something might still be living in it. Pretty sure the mice and probably the ground squirrels had took up residency in the transmission, because not just that, but all of this came out of it too. So this can now go get repaired on. Did bend up the flywheel a little bit. The motor's locked up, so I couldn't get to the 3 bolts, and trying to slide it back enough to give me room to get to those, I've bent up the flywheel. No big deal, we can get a new flywheel easy enough for that motor. But that's that. All right, everybody, now all that's left to do is load up the transmission and transfer case in the bed of the truck, get it ready to go to town to get repaired. We're going to mount the motor to the engine stand. Nothing big to talk about or watch there. But yeah, there it sits. We're ready to start working on brakes, sanding everything down, change out the suspension, and put a fresh coat of paint on this chassis. And then we'll rebuild on the motor and hopefully be able to start putting everything back together real soon. So everything I got left to do this weekend is just clean up and put up. So I won't bore you with that. Thank you all for joining in. Look forward to the next steps in the process.